Okay, I'm back. I got some light in here now. You can see down here I have a cold air intake coming in. Just a kind of a quick note here. I mentioned it in the previous video here. I've basically diagnosed this down to the smart valve. You should always have either a certified guy come and test all the things like the pressure switch and proper operation of the flame detect sensor, your thermostats. Make sure you properly go through the steps of diagnosing the furnace before you come to the conclusion that your smart valve's bad. The reason being is obviously this is not a technically certified fix. This will fix the smart valve permanently. I've got no doubt about that. But most guys, what they would be doing is swapping parts and trying to figure out why you're actually getting this failure. Now, I've heard of everything from pilot lights not lighting. I've heard of the main burners not lighting. That seems to be very common. I've also heard of main burners firing up and going out shortly thereafter. Now, there are other components in the furnace that could fail, that could cause these symptoms, and that's why I say make sure before you attempt to take apart your smart valve that you've actually diagnosed the rest of the furnace first to make sure that it's all working properly. Because there's no point in even going here if you don't have to. This is, basically your last chance to fix the furnace before you're going to have to spend some pretty good money to get it repaired. So here we go. This is basically it. What you need to do first of all is get the two screws out of the cover. Okay, they are a security bit. They're a T15 security or a Torx 15 security bit, so you'll need to acquire one of those before you can even get the top off. Okay, so I'm gonna kill my gas valve. Okay, shut it right off to the furnace. I've already killed the electricity, so I'm not gonna nuke myself while I start playing around here. First order of business obviously is to disconnect the plugs that go up to the smart valve. Like so. So one of them is coming up from the control board. The other one is your flame detect sensor. Okay. So between these two plugs, this is what controls your entire furnace as far as turning the gas on and off and firing the pilot. The rest of the control is done by the control board. That's things like your checks for thermostats, pressure switch, turning on the blower fans. That's all done by the control board, which is down here. Okay. So, I've already taken the screws off just for quicker video time. And basically, once you have the screws off, just be careful and gently remove that. Now here's the control board that's sitting on top of the smart valve. Okay, so I've had a quick look at this already, and a couple things I'm noticing is that Honeywell uses some really nice solenoids. Those are pretty high-end solenoids, so those chances of those failing are pretty slim. However, if we move up to the actual control board, the components look like they're of average quality, but the board and the tracing on the board, which I've already looked at, I can't really show it to you until I get it off, is really crappy. Mass-produced junk. And that's why they fail. It has nothing to do with the valve or the electronics in the valve. It has to do with the control board that connects all the brains together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this control board off. And what you need to do that is come over here. Here's my Torx bit set, security bit set. Here is the T15 with the hole. That's what the security bit is it's got a little hole in it. Most Torx Screws, you don't have a pin sticking out, but these ones you do, because they don't want you to tamper with it, obviously. But that's not what I'm about. We need solder. We need a fairly decent soldering iron with a bigger tip on it. And the reason I need that is because I need to actually remove the board off the solenoids. It's actually an assembly, so the board has actually been soldered to 3 points on the solenoids, and it's screwed down. So I need to take the solder off of those 3 points and unconnect the screw, and then I should be able to lift the control board off the top of the smart valve. And how am I going to get rid of the solder? I use one of these babies. This is what we call a solder sucker or a solder pump. They've got various different names. Basically is a small vacuum, spring-loaded, that will allow you to suck the solder up when it's hot. If I have to go beyond that, I'm going to use a product called solder wick, which will wick the rest of the solder out of my way so that I can actually pull the connection apart and get the board off of where it is. Now the connections I'm talking about are, I need something to point with. Use this guy. Okay, so if we look at the top of the board, see the brass screw back there? That's holding the board down. And also that connection right there, there, and back here. Okay, those all are attached to those solenoids down below. You can kind of see it through here. Not really. But those are attached, so I can't take that board off until I actually unsolder those 3 points and remove that screw. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll come back, and we'll go from there. Okay? If this is something that you don't feel comfortable doing, I would highly recommend that you remove this smart valve and have a certified electronic tech actually remove the board for you so that you do not wreck the solenoids or the board. There is a certain amount that you can heat this up without doing damage. If you overheat it, you're going to do damage to the smart valve, irreversible, and you're going to have to replace it regardless. So this part is a little more advanced. It's not hard, but if you don't feel comfortable desoldering these couple points, then I would recommend you take this smart valve out. It's still going to cost you less to have somebody do a quick solder repair on that valve than replacing it. These valves are retardedly expensive. Okay, so I'll be back.